Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are looking at more modal spells. This time we're looking at the +1/+1 counters. So this is a little confusing calling it counters. I don't mean counter spells counter. So yeah, that's where it gets. We did do one on modal counter spells as well. I'll try to put a little card up in the corner. And yeah, but so this is counters as in counters you put on the creatures, not counter spells. Alright, so what do I mean by budget? I mean $2 or less, and I'm using the TCG player market value, not a sponsor, not one bit. What is a modal spell? So modal spells are spells that allow you to choose between options available. So it gives you several options. Many times the options aren't as good as like just a regular card effect. I think a lot of these are, so yeah. Or they cost more, right? The cost is higher or the option isn't quite as good. I think these ones are good for the cost, so yeah. Doesn't have to be, but often is. And yeah, especially I like it for something like this where you're talking about buffing creatures is one option. Yeah, this actually is quite useful for a number of things. Like, if you don't want to buff the creature, you can do something else. So that gives you more flexibility. If you're trying to be more aggressive, buffing the creature makes sense. If you're trying to like make up ground or get recursion or something like that, having more options is very important. Honorable mentions. Subtle Strike. So choose one or both. I really like these ones because they do give you like a double option there. So target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn and put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That can be just super useful in multiple ways. Again, if you've got something where you just want to take out the creature that has 1 life, or even if you're being blocked, usually if you're being blocked and you've got a decent attacker, increasing its attack by 1 and minusing the blocking creature by -1/-1 will be enough to like win that exchange. But anyway, okay, 2 cents. Arbalest Engineers. So this is actually a creature, and when it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Deal 1 damage to any target. Might be useful. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains trample and haste until end of turn. Frankly, having the trample and haste is probably better than just a +1/+1, but it is a counter, so it stays, right? The haste and the trample are only until end of turn. That +1/+1 counter, that stays. And finally, create a tap Power Stone token. If you're using a lot of artifacts, these are amazing. Yeah, also with the right commander. But anyway, Story Weave. I'm probably going to use this in a budget deck soon. So yeah. Choose 1. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Again, this is for 2 and a green. I should say the casting cost, which I haven't done for any of them. Okay, Subtle Strike is 1 and a black. Arbalest Engineers is 1 and Gruel, so red-green. And someone started making bashing noises outside my apartment because I'm recording, of course. Anyway, okay. Put 2 lore counters on target saga you control. Remember, that will trigger each thing, right? When you put a lore counter on the saga, it will trigger that effect. So essentially you're using this to set off more effects. So that can be very, very good. Especially if you've got many sagas out, having this lets you like decide kind of the pacing of the saga and everything like that. It can do a whole lot of work. Anyway, 5 cents. Number 5. Grave Endeavor. Alright, so roll 2d... so 5 black. Roll 2d10 and choose 1 result. Return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to that result. Okay, so any creature. This is any creature. The rolling a d10 doesn't determine which creature you can do or the casting cost or anything like that. That's not what this does. This takes any creature from your graveyard and puts it straight back onto the battlefield. the D10 is the number of +1/+1 counters it gets, okay? Which some people still aren't big on, but yeah. Second, then each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the other result. So you're rolling 2d10. I would make sure to have like an extra roll or a re-roll if you're using this card. You got to have some kind of support for dice roll, which is mostly in like red or blue. So yeah, kind of more getting more niche there. I guess Grixis could probably use this really well, but maybe a Mardu deck as well. But anyway, okay. Yeah, recursion and auto damage is a very nice combination. The downside here, or the downside, is the random dice. People don't like that. Also, the casting cost is 7. That's steep, right? You can get a whole lot of recursion for less than 7. You're not going to get the +1/+1, so you're not going to have the auto damage. These two effects together are really good. The modal part is choosing the die, which die goes with what. I think that can make a big difference. Anyway, 82 cents. Number 4. Energy Chamber. Okay, so this is only 2, and it at the beginning of your upkeep, choose 1, right? So this is going to trigger every single upkeep. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, or put a charge counter on target non-creature artifact. There are a ton of things you can do that with. So, especially, the ideal thing is with Proliferate, right? You want to have this in Proliferate deck. I actually made one recently and didn't have this, and now I'm like, I forgot about Energy Chamber. Should have had that. There are several artifacts that can create mana and things like that based on the number of charge counters. As soon as you get the first charge counter is the hard part. As soon as it has that, you can just proliferate, right? So you can basically make a whole bunch of extra mana every turn by putting one charger counter and then proliferate. And there's all kinds of great effects you can get with that. It's very much a synergy card, so yeah. The fact that it triggers every turn for 2 mana, I think, is absolutely crazy. Anyway, 44 cents. Number 3. Battle of Hoover Dam. Okay, so this is one where it's an enchantment, and when it comes in, kind of like, what is it called? Khans or Tarkir, I think? Anyway. Not Tarkir, but Khans or Dragons, right, yeah. NCR or Legion, so NCR at the beginning of your end step, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. So the finality counter means that when it dies, it's exiled, basically, yeah. Still super useful, potentially. And Legion, whenever a creature you control dies, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. So even if you're like, you've got a whole bunch of tokens that you're just sacking, you can just pile on +1/+1 counters because you're sacking things for value. That gets out of control really fast. The flexibility with that as well, where like if you're behind, it gives you something to do, and if you're ahead, you can kind of pile on the advantage. I love it for that. 13 cents. Number 2. Inscription of Abundance. Alright, so this is another kind of weird one for Modal, but yeah. For 2, you get to choose one effect. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Target player gains X life, or X is the greatest power among creatures they control, which is quite good. Target creature you control fights another target creature you don't control. I made a fight deck recently as well and did not put this in it. I always see cards after that I'm like, oh, that would have been perfect for my fight deck. Anyway, the thing that makes this really good is that, yeah, for 2, you get one of those effects. If you pay 3 extra, so if you pay a total of 5, 3 any color, and 2 green, you get everything. You get all 3 modes. That is a lot of value right there. The life gain is okay. It's maybe not the main reason you're doing this, but hopefully you can, if you have a life gain strategy, this is just a fantastic card to have. Anywho, 20 cents. Oh, please hit like and subscribe. It really does help a lot. Number 1. Misfortune. I think this card is hilarious. That's why I love this card. It's just funny. Anyway, so for 1 black, red, green, I'm spacing on what that's called right now, but I gotta forget something while I'm recording. It's mandatory. Target opponent chooses 1. So the modal is your opponent choosing. I love this. You put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and gain 4 life, so you get a whole bunch, or put a -1/-1 counter on each creature that opponent controls. Misfortune deals 4 damage to him or her. So either they hurt everything they have and take damage, or they help you. Especially the main thing I would want to do with this is copy, right? This color combination isn't great at copying in general, but you've got things like Conspire you could use to copy, and yeah, especially if they have to make that choice multiple times. If you can copy like 1 or 2 times, if they gotta say 3 times, all my creatures get -3/-3, and I take 12 damage, they're not gonna do that, right? You're gonna get a whole lot of value out of that. Also, it's just like such a mean thing to do. 57 cents. The List. Okay, so Grave Endeavor, 82 cents. Energy Chamber, 44 cents. Battle of Hoover Dam, 13 cents. Inscription of Abundance is 20 cents. And finally, Misfortune is 57 cents. Still think that's just a hilarious card. Anyway, take it easy.